Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. First of all, I would like to pay my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of my Diksha Guru Pad Padma, Shripad Bhaktivedanta Siddhante Goswami Maharaj, unto the lotus feet of my Shiksha Gurudev Shripad Madhav Priya Prabhuji, to Nityalila Pravishta Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Shila Narayan Goswami Maharaj, Nityalila
Jai,
Pravishta Shri Srimad Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj, and Nityalila Pravishta Shri
Jai,
Srimad Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj. I pay
Jai.
my humble obeisances unto the divine associates of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Prabhupada, unto Srila Bhakti Vinod, all our Guru Parampara, unto the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates, to the lotus feet of Shri Radha Krishna and their associates. I pay my humble obeisances to all the Vaishnavis who are present here, who are engaging me in this service of JAIVA Dharma, in which we are having very beautiful discourses and discussions, trying to learn what Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is desiring us to learn, desiring us to know and get established in those concepts of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So let's get started. In our last class, we had a discussion regarding what is dharma. So as everyone can see on the screen, understanding dharma, the nature. So in the last class, we discussed very deeply about what is dharma. What is the difference between dharma and the faith, that we generally gets confused that faith is dharma, but faith is not dharma. There are different school of thoughts, and everyone has different faith towards different schools of thoughts, like Hinduism, Sikhism, Islam, Jainism, Christianity. So many different things, they are faith. So yesterday we very deeply, not yesterday, in the last class, we deeply understood about the nature. Dharma is the nature, and with an example of water, that how the nature arises and how the nature distorts. These two are the main questions. These two are the main questions that if we understand this, then it will be completely all right. Everything can be understood through this. So how the nature arises, we discussed about that, that from the elementary structure, from the building block, the nature gets arised. The nature arises from the building block of that particular object, that particular vastu, that particular substance. And then next we discussed that how the nature gets distorted. It's get distorted because of some external circumstances, because of some external force that comes. So now in today's class, we will be hearing further, trying to understand that how the same concepts applies on jiva. One devotee asked me that we understood the example of water, that how the water's nature arises, how the water's nature get distorted when the temperature changes. But what happens in the case of soul? What happens in the case of soul? What is the nature of the soul and how it arises? Today, we will try to understand all those concepts about soul, that how the nature of the soul arises and how the nature of the soul gets distorted. So moving further, we will see, yeah. So Nitya Dharma. We in the last class we understood this concept of eternal function, that is Nitya Dharma. It is the transcendental service to Krishna. Like the water, the eternal function is its natural state is liquidity. In the same way, the soul's eternal function is transcendental service to Krishna. And instead of that eternal function, when the soul gets some external circumstances like the entanglement of Maya, then what happens? That eternal function gets shifted to occasional function, that is Naimitika Dharma. And what is that? Material enjoyment and different kinds of duties. The Nitya Dharma, it also has another word, that is the real nature. You can see I have given green color to the eternal part in which the natural function, the natural state of the soul has been decided. And the red one, like Naimitika Dharma and Nisarga, is the distorted version of the soul. So, eternal function, this is clear that eternal function of Jiva is to serve Shri Krishna. But instead of following that eternal function, what the Jiva starts doing because of entanglement of Maya, it starts undergoing material enjoyment and duties. It's like being in the state of cold temperature in case of water. Eternal nature of water, the function of water is liquidity, being in the liquid state. But when external temperature change comes, then either it gets into vapor or it gets into ice. So in the same way, soul's eternal nature is to serve Krishna, but when Maya comes in contact with the soul, there comes a covering because of which it enters into material enjoyment and duties. Now, this is clear. Second part that we are talking is the nature. The soul's nature is Sat, Chid, and Anand. Sat, Chid, Anand means eternal knowledge and bliss. Sat means eternal, Chit means knowledge, and Anand means bliss. So, this is the real nature of the soul. But when it gets distorted, then that is called Nisarga. Nisarga, as we saw in the last class, the state of ice is nisarga. It's the distorted nature because of very cold temperature. In the same way, because of Maya, the soul starts misidentifying himself, does not no longer see himself as Sachidanand, completely blissful. No. Instead, because of misidentification that I am this body, I am not soul, I am this body. I am a son. I am a daughter. I am a mother. I am a friend. I am an engineer. I am young. So many different kind of identifications we apply on us, which are false identifications. And because of those, suffer. Whenever there comes any kind of issue in the family, we suffer because I identify myself being connected with all of them through this body because I am this body. So that misidentification is the distorted nature because in real, I am completely blissful. That's my real nature. But my distorted state is because of Maya. That's like an external circumstances. So now comes the real question that how the nature of the jiva arises. How the nature of the jiva it arises. For that, let's understand what we talked about in our last class, that how the nature of any object arises. It arises by the elementary structure. The nature arises by the building block of that particular object. So what is the building block of jiva? What is the elementary structure of jiva? We just heard. The elementary structure of jiva is Satchidanand, which is coming from whom? From the source. Which source? Which is full of again Satchidanand. And that is whom? Krishna. Krishna is called as Sachidananda Vigraha. He is the embodiment, he is the infinite whole, he is the complete Sachidananda Vigraha. And because the soul is emanating from Shri Krishna, the soul is emanating from that Supreme Lord who is completely spiritual, who is completely eternal, who is completely full of knowledge, and who is completely blissful. Because the soul is coming from that source, and that's why the nature of the soul is Sachidanand. This is the reason that why such kind of nature arises from the soul, which is full of Sat, Chit, and Anand. So it should be clear that how the nature of the Jiva, the real nature of the soul, arises. It arises because that thing is present in its structure. What? Sachidanand. Complete knowledge, complete bliss, and being eternal. So this is clear that the nature. Okay, one second. So it is clear that the nature of the soul arises from the source, that is the elementary structure, that is Sachidananda Vigraha Shri Krishna. Now comes the another question, which one devotee asked in the last class, that how the nature of the jiva gets distorted. Very important question. In the case of water, we understood that the nature of water gets distorted from being liquid to becoming solid or becoming gas by what?
Yes.
By some external circumstance, either by increasing the temperature or too much decreasing the temperature. So that is the reason for the distortion. Now, the soul also gets distorted. The jiva also gets distorted. But the question, another question arises, that does it get distorted forcefully by the external circumstances like water? That in the case of water, externally I increase the temperature or decrease the temperature, and water has no saying. Water has no independence. If I'll decrease the temperature, water has to undergo what? If I'll decrease the temperature, water has to undergo freezing. Water will have to become an ice. And in case I increase the temperature, water has to become vapors. But does the same thing happen with the soul? Water is something material. Water is a non-living thing. But soul has its own independence. Soul has its own choices also, because it is the part and parcel of Shri Krishna. Krishna is fully independent. Krishna has full independent choices. Now, anything that emanates from Krishna, that comes from Krishna, which is like a child of Krishna, so the child also will have, if not complete, then some kind of independence, some kind of choices. No or yes. So, obviously, it is not exactly the same distortion
All right,
as
I'm
the
offering.
distortion of water. Because in this case, what is there? There is a choice also. The soul is given an independence. Krishna has given independence to soul. So someone may say, if you are discussing about that particular object, how it undergoes distortion, it gets changed its nature for some temporary period by some external force. But you are saying that water, it completely depends on the external force, be it high temperature, low temperature. But the soul, it's not completely dependent on external source. True, it's not completely dependent on external changes or circumstances. How? Because there are two types of Vastu. You can see in the screen. There are two types of object. One is Vastav Vastu, means permanent objects, which are spiritual in nature. Another one is Avastav Vastu, that is temporary objects, which are material in nature. So one is spiritual objects, another is material objects, which are temporary. Now, an intelligent person who wants to undergo learning, who wants to get and attain knowledge, who, what kind of objects will he want to learn about? What kind of Vastu he will want to learn about? Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying that any intelligent person would only try to endeavor for learnings regarding permanent objects, regarding Vastav Vastu, and not regarding Avastav Vastu. Because permanent objects, they stay in our life. Permanent objects, they are not just meant to stay for one lifetime, they are meant to stay eternally. And temporary objects like material education, I undergo so much of studying, doing BTech, doing medical, becoming doctor, so many different things. After few years, like couple of decades and all, what happens? That knowledge, that practice, that whatever I did, the knowledge that I attain starts diminishing. And by the end of my life, I just lose it completely. And when I take birth again, then I have to start studying from zero. I again have to go to class 1, class 2, class 3. Can we say that, oh, last birth I was a doctor, so please just give me the degree at once and I will start practicing? No. I again have to undergo from kindergarten and then going doing PhDs and all the postdoctorals. So that kind of education, that kind of knowledge that we are going to is a vastav vastu, that is temporary objects, knowledge in the temporary realm. So an intelligent person, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur saying, will obviously try his best to attain which kind of knowledge? Vastav, knowledge regarding vastav vastu, that is real objects which are permanent in nature, which are spiritual in nature, which are transcendental, which will stay with me even not just by the end of this life, but eternally. Even after thousands and millions of births, I still will have connection with those objects. So an intelligent person will surely go for it. Now someone may ask that where to get this kind of knowledge? Is there any book claiming that yes, we give this kind of knowledge regarding Vastav Vastu, regarding the real objects? Yes, there is a book, Srimad Bhagavatam. If you just read the second shloka of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, second shloka, in that it has been written, Vedyam Vastavam Atra Vastu Shivdam Tap Trayon Moolanam. It's saying Vedyam Vastavam Atra Vastu. What does that mean? Vedyam Vastavam Atra Vastu. That means that this book, it is mentioning that this book contains, the subject of this book is Vastav Vastu, knowledge regarding permanent objects, knowledge regarding transcendental substances. I request everyone to mute their mics. So, in the slides, you can see that two types of vastu, two types of object. One is vastav vastu, second is avastav vastu. I hope it is clear with everyone that there are two kinds of objects, and that the difference between these objects tells us that the process of distortion is different in these two objects. For example, the case of water that we took. Water comes in material objects. So that distortion in water is completely dependent on what? Completely dependent on external source, completely dependent on the external material nature. That if there is cold temperature, water has to undergo freezing. If there is hot temperature, then water has to undergo vaporization. But in case of soul, it has a choice that do I want to go into this kind of distortion or not? Do I want to do something which is not in my nature, which is not in my dharma, which is not in my eternal nature, and get into that kind of zone in which I will forget my real dharma and I'll start following something else. I'll start staying into a distorted state. So that a choice is there. When the jiva, and that kind of choice which we are mentioning here, we will be understanding that further in all the coming classes. So all those who are not able to understand some of the bits right now, slowly in the next chapters, these things will be more clear, because the concepts in Jaiv Dharma are not just like first concept and then just first concept is completely done and then second concept. No, when the first concept is completed, in the second concept, some part of first concept is also mentioned. So that slowly, when the person is moving further, all the previous concepts also, they are getting cleared, more and more clear. Okay. So this thing is clear that how the nature of the jiva gets distorted. The nature of the jiva gets distorted by not just external circumstances, but by two things. One is the choice. First comes the choice that, oh, I don't want to serve Krishna. Why would I serve Krishna? I am independent. I want to enjoy myself independently from Krishna. So I don't want to enter into spiritual world and serve Krishna there. What the desire came, that I want to get served. I want to enjoy independently. And then with that desire, Krishna arranged for external circumstances. He built this whole material manifestation through his potency named Maya. So the Maya, she is arranging all the external circumstances for us. But initially, it was our choice. She attracted us, showing that, oh, see here in this material world, you will be able to enjoy yourself. And there in spiritual world, you have to serve. So those souls who choose, who chose Krishna over this material energy, over this Maya, they entered into Krishna's place and they stayed in their eternal nature and started serving. Until now, they are serving. And other souls who misused their independence by choosing Maya over Krishna, they were entered in this jail. This is like a jail, and Maya is like jailer. Maya Devi is like a jailer, and this material world in which we are staying, it's like a jail. So we have been sent here by our choice, and then these external circumstances have been imposed by my choice. And now, for so long, I have been suffering into this distorted state. So, this is how the nature of the jiva gets distorted. I hope it is clear. If any question, you can ask later. So, here, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is taking us to a journey. And in that journey, now we are trying to take our first step towards pure knowledge. Because when we talk about Vastu, when we talk mainly about Vastav Vastu, which is the real object. So, the real object, there are three main fundamental principles. Try to understand this. If I just talk about in the previous slide, we saw there are two types of Vastu, right? Permanent and temporary. If I say the definition of permanent object in simple terms, the definition of permanent objects is that these are spiritual and transcendental objects which are related to Lord Krishna. That's it. This is the definition of real Vastu, real object. That spiritual transcendental entities which are related to the Supreme Lord. They are always permanent, else everything is temporary. So, what are the three classification of these Vastu, these kind of real objects? The three classifications are Bhagavan, Jiva, and Maya. Bhagavan, as we all know, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Jiva is the part and parcel, a little part and parcel of that Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. And the third one is Maya, which is the potency of that supreme potent, the supreme personality, Lord Krishna. Now, these three particular things, the mutual relationship that is present between these three particular fundamental principle, this is pure knowledge. This is fully pure knowledge. Try to understand this. Here we are talking about, as we discussed, that there are temporary objects, temporary knowledge, and permanent knowledge, permanent objects. So, first we have made it clear that all the material education and all the material endeavors which are necessary in my life, I will do. But main endeavors will be always towards the permanent knowledge, the permanent entities, the permanent objects. Now, when I am going in that direction, there are again the whole world inside this. So, the Shuddha Gyan, the pure knowledge, if I want to attain, then the first step to attain that pure knowledge is to understand the relationship between Bhagavan, Jiva, and Maya. These three things, if I am able to understand the relationship, then most of my practice will become very clear. Otherwise, if we see different kind of school of thought, different kind of sampradayas, Shaivism, all this Mayavadism, impersonalism, so many different kind of sampradaya and school of thoughts are going on. If we see the difference between them and us, or individually between each of these sampradaya, so the difference in all these sampradaya is only based on their different understanding of the mutual relationship between Bhagwan, Jiva, and Maya. The difference between all the sampradayas is only based on this particular first step. What is the first step? The relationship between Bhagwan, Jiva, and Maya. The Mayavadis, they think that Jiva, they are non-different from Bhagwan. It is just that these Jivas, they are somehow got entangled with Maya, but as soon as they come out of Maya, they will become Bhagwan. They say like this. And then impersonalisms, they have different kind of uh, voidism, different kind of concepts. So all these particular these sampradayas, they are different. The differences are based on this particular understanding. That how the mutual relationship, one sampradaya is understanding in a complete different way. The mutual relationship between Bhagwan, Jeev, and Maya, another sampradaya is understanding in a different way. But this particular Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying that one who can properly understand this mutual relationship between Bhagwan, Jiva, and Maya, he starts moving towards pure knowledge. So let's understand that how Bhagwan, Jiva, and Maya are related. So first see Jiva and Bhagwan. We all know the Supreme Lord, he is supreme in every sense. And Jiva, it is a very tiny portion of that Bhagwan. It's a part and parcel, as we say. In Chaitanya Charitamrit, it has been mentioned, Jivera Swarupahaya Krishnera Nityadasa Krishnera Tatastha Shakti Bheda Bhed Prakasha. What does it mean? That Jiva's eternal nature, Swarup means eternal nature, it's Dharma. Jiva's Dharma. Jiva's Dharma is Krishnera Nityadas, to be the eternal servant of Krishna. That's the nature. That's the real nature, not the assigned nature, not the acquired nature, or not the distorted nature that we are having right now of being the enjoyer in this material world. But the eternal, the real nature is Nityadas, eternal servant. That is clear. Then Krishnera Tatastha Shakti Bheda Bhed Prakash. This is the most important point that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us. This is the philosophy of Gaudiyas. This is the philosophy of inconceivable oneness and difference. That One sampradaya is saying that Jiva is completely different from Bhagwan. Another sampradaya like Mayavadis, they say that Jiva is completely same as Bhagwan. As soon as Jiva gets out of Maya, it becomes Bhagwan only. There is no difference at that time between Jiva and Bhagwan. It is same, one and same. So there are extremes. Either saying that Jiva and Bhagwan they are completely different, or saying that Jiva and Bhagwan they are completely same. There is no difference. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he explained that both of them are completely wrong. There is the reality. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being the Supreme Lord, the Lord Himself is coming to explain the real knowledge, the pure knowledge. That is Bheda Bhed Prakash. Means that there is simultaneously, there is some similarities also, and there is some differences also. It's not that it's completely same. It's not that Jiva is completely different from the Lord. There are similarities and there are differences at the same time. Bhed, abhed. Bhed means differences, abhed means similarity. So bhed, abhed, prakash. Okay. So now let's understand with some examples that how something can be same and different at the same time. Simultaneously, Jiva is same to the Lord and also different from the Lord. How it is? Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given some examples for this. Bhagwan is the source of jivas, that is true. Jiva is the part and parcel of the Lord. Jiva is the part and parcel of the Lord. But he has given an example that how there is similarity and differences. He's saying that when we observe a sun, from the sun there come so many sun rays, and each of these sun rays are made of so many billions of particles, photons, sun particles. And because of those particles only, these particles are reaching here. Sun is there far from Earth. But how we are able to know that sun is there? Because from there particles are reaching here. So the particles are developed from sun only. But still, these particles they have some similarity from the sun because they have developed from it. But there are differences also. So the example is used to explain that how Krishna is like the sun. Krishna is like that big sun, and jivas are like that small sun particles which are coming out of it. So we have to understand few concepts regarding this. That how when the sun is throwing away these particles, it's not that sun is getting smaller in size. That oh, I'm losing so many particles all the day, all the night, every time. So now the sun is becoming small. No, this is not the case. Sun is not becoming small. And another example which has been stated that it is also not that we should not understand or visualize it like there are small, small rocks, and all these rocks are collected. When they are collected and makes a huge mountain, then it becomes like Krishna. No. Krishna is not something which is made by collection of jivas. Try to understand. If I am saying that the whole personality Shri Krishna, from him jivas are emanating, jivas are coming out from him, it does not mean that jivas are that which are actually making Krishna. Are you understanding? Like we say, na, we have small, small objects through which we make model. So all those small, small pieces we join, and then a whole big model gets created. So Krishna is not made like that. That all these small objects, small these parts are joined, and then the big personality which is made, that is Krishna. No. With these examples, we are trying to understand. Although these examples are not completely accurate, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying that we cannot accurately use any kind of example to explain this kind of concepts. but we are using this to get some kind of understanding that how they are related to the whole process of creation of jivas. So, most important point from this example is to understand that even when billions, trillions, infinite jivas they come out of Krishna's body, still Krishna's body does not diminish. It's not that Krishna is losing something. He was complete, he is complete, and he will always be complete. If in terms of mathematics we try to understand, from infinite, there is a term called infinite. From infinite, if I remove like something large portion from it, from infinite I am removing a very large portion, so will what will be the result? Will the infinite become finite? No, infinite will still stay finite. Means infinite minus very large particular number is equal to still be infinite. Also, if from infinite I remove infinite, like infinite minus infinite is still equal to infinite. Understanding? And this concept is coming from Shastras only, saying Om Purnamidam Purnamida Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamimavashishyate. Means that from that supreme complete whole which is infinite, Shri Krishna, who is infinite, if I remove infinite jivas, infinite number of entities I'm removing from him, the result will be that Krishna will still stay infinite. He will still be infinite. There will be no diminishing, there will be no loss in Krishna's personality. So this is how we are trying to understand how Bhagwan is the source of Jiva. Bhagwan is the source of Jiva, in from whom all the Jivas are coming out, but still Bhagwan stays the same. Bhagwan is still infinite. Now let's come to the main point here, the comparison between Krishna and Jiva. Here we will try to understand the difference and similarity between Bhagwan and Jiva. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, who is Bhagwan, he is called as infinite. He is infinite spiritual substance. Previously we discussed. So keep this mind map in your head, that how we discussed that the Vastu, the objects, the substance is divided into two. One is real objects, permanent one, that are spiritual in nature, and the second one is avastav Vastu, that is temporary objects. And now, when we talk about the real objects, because our focus is this, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said that that intelligent person, he will not go for this material concepts, material substance, because it is temporary in nature. It will stay up till this lifetime, and in the next lifetime, I'll be again renewed completely in terms of my education and everything. All the relationships that I am having from my father, mother, brother, sister, wife, everyone, it will be just completely lost as soon as this body dies. So all the temporary things we are discarding now. All those temporary vastu, temporary substances, we are doing as much it is required. It's not that we can leave it at once and become and go to forest. No, that also is not happening. But we are trying to balance in a way that most of my energy should not go in that direction. Some energy as per requirement, I have to do it to sustain myself. I need money and everything. I'll do that. But my main focus, because I have luckily, fortunately, got into this path of Krishna consciousness, this spirituality. So my main focus is towards Vastav Vastu, which is the subject of Srimad Bhagavatam, the whole book, which is trying to give us that only. Vedyam Vastavam Atra Vastu. So in that Vastav Vastu, that category which is spiritual objects, spiritual object, transcendental object, in that category, I have got to know that there are three fundamental principles. That is Bhagavan, Jiva and Maya. And there, I am trying to understand the mutual relationship between Bhagwan, Jiva, and Maya, because if I can understand that, then my path will become completely clear. Then I will be able to establish an ideal relationship which is meant to be established with Bhagwan. Me being the Jiva, what is my nature? What is my personality? And what is my eternal service to the Lord? So, in that sequence, we are understanding that what is the relationship between Bhagwan and Jiva. What is the comparison between Bhagwan and Jiva? Bhagwan, he is the infinite spiritual substance. He is infinite spiritual substance that is called Vibhu Chidvastu, Brihad Chidvastu. You can see the slides. Krishna is infinite spiritual substance, and it is in Hindi called as Brihad Chidvastu. Brihad means infinite, means very vast, cannot be calculated, cannot be measured. Chid means spiritual, and substance is Vastu, as we discussed. So Krishna is infinite spiritual substance, and Jivas are infinitesimal spiritual substance. Infinitesimal means Anu, means very tiny, like a little molecule, little atom, little piece. Anu, Chit, Vastu. Infinitesimal spiritual substance. So this is the difference, that even in that realm of spiritual objects, spiritual entities, my presence is very small, infinitesimal. Jiva's presence is very small, and Krishna's presence is so big, it's like infinite. So that difference is understandable. But there is again a similarity. And for that difference, let's imagine this with an example of ocean. Like a big ocean is there. Can we calculate how many liters of water is there in that ocean? We cannot. So the depth of ocean is so much at different areas. Till now, the science is so advanced, but still now, the science, they have not gone through the deepest surface of ocean. All the scientists and all, they don't know what is present there in the deepest surface of the ocean. So much jewels, so many different kind of chintamani and all these things that we hear in our scriptures, they are not just that, oh, right now I am not seeing any kind of touchstone. Right now, in these days, we don't hear about any kind of chintamani, so I really doubt that they exist or not. No, the nature actually hides these things. Guru Maharaj Ji once telling that how, with time, when the nature sees that so much exploitation has been increased, so what the nature do? It starts hiding its jewels. The nature starts hiding its very valuable substances, and it becomes very difficult, very far from the reach of human beings. So the scientists, they are not even able to go to the deepest surface of the ocean. So what to speak of understanding that infinite supreme Bhagwan, who is completely spiritual and transcendental. But for an example, we are taking this, that how ocean is so huge, so vast. So that ocean is compared like Krishna, so big, so huge. And one drop of that ocean, one little drop of that ocean is like Jiva. So if a person comes and say that Jiva and Bhagwan are same, so it's completely nonsense. It's like saying that a little drop of water is equal to ocean. No, ocean contains so many different things, so many big, big things. And drop, it's just very tiny, can be thrown here and there like anything. So this is the big difference between the Lord and the Jiva. But there is a similarity also, because Mahaprabhu, what he has said, that it is not that there is only difference between Bhagwan and Jiva. There is similarity also. It's neither the one extreme case in which Jiva is completely from the Lord, nor the other case that Jiva is completely same from to the Lord. There is a fine line in between which tells that there is similarities and differences both. So difference we understood that how Bhagwan is Vibhu, he is Brihad, he is infinite spiritual entity, and Jiva is infinitesimal spiritual entity. Now what's the similarity? Similarity is in the constitution, that how Bhagwan also is spiritual, and Jiva, because it is the part and parcel of that Bhagwan, it is also spiritual. Bhagwan is Purna Sachidananda Vigraha. In the same way, this little Jiva, it also is made of the same compound. It is also made of the same substance, same building block, that is Sat Chit Anand. So that comes the similarity. How to understand with the water example, the ocean example that we just took? That although the ocean is so huge and water is, that tiny droplet is so small, that there is no comparison between ocean and a water droplet from that ocean. There is no comparison in real. There's so much difference between them. But still, if we see the molecular structure, if we see the constituent that are present inside, this ocean is also made of H2O, dihydrogen oxide. If I take any particular drop from the whole ocean, the formula that will come out for that drop is H2O. And in the same with this little drop that I am having, it is also H2O. So the constituent is completely same. The constituent is completely same, that how whole ocean is also made of H2O, and this little droplet from the ocean is also made of H2O. So there is this big similarity also. So in the same way, Bhagwan is infinite, Jiva is infinitesimal, very tiny. But Bhagwan is Purna Sachidananda Vigraha, so Jiva also is Sachidanand. It is also made of the same spiritual building block. Are you understanding? If there is any doubt, you can ask me. So this is the most primary understanding of our line, of Mahaprabhu's line. And this is named as Achintya Bheda Bhed. Achintya Bheda Bhed means, what is the meaning of Achintya Bheda Bhed? We just heard the meaning of Bheda Bhed. That there is Bhed means differences, and there is Abhed means similarities at the same time, simultaneously. But Achintya means it is unconceivable. It is inconceivable. It is beyond my material understandings. It is beyond my material reach by material senses. Even using all these examples, I can get some pieces, bits, and here and there. But in real, what is actually happening? What is the similarities and differences in Krishna and Jiva? I cannot really comprehend from my mind. I cannot really make full understanding of it with this language, with this material examples that I am giving. But this at least helps me to understand that yes, there is simultaneous difference also, and there is simultaneously similarities also, as we just took the example of ocean and a little drop of water from that ocean. So, although it is achintya, but still it gives us the ground of, um, like it gives us a foundation through which we can, on which we can develop our relationship between with Bhagwan. If that foundation is not there, if I'll not be told this, that oh, you are Jiva, you are very infinitesimal, and you can never be equal to Bhagwan. A, a little drop of water can never be equal to ocean. Even though it has the same nature, it has the same constituent, but still a little drop of water can never compare, never become an ocean. No. So this part creates a foundation for me that I should never ever try to become Bhagwan. As a Jiva, I should never ever get into that school of thought or understanding in which I have been told that Jiva, when gets out of Maya, will become Bhagwan, will merge with Bhagwan and become the Lord. No. That is like giving so much pain to the Lord. Our Guru Vargas, they explain that how all these Shaivites who are Mayavadis, they want to become Shiva. They want to become Shiva, and that's why they're worshipping Shiva. They're worshipping Shivji and Parvati very deeply, very strongly, much more austere than our life, much more austere. But the mood is that right now I am completely entangled in Maya. I'll perform very strong sadhana and I will meditate on Shivji, I'll meditate on Parvati. And then one day in my spiritual perfection, I will get into the body of Shiva, I will become Shiva. I will merge with him. So Guru Vargas they explain that this is such a painful thing for Lord Shiva himself to see his children doing like this. It is so painful. Why? Because one beautiful statement is there. Maya Baddh Haite Shiv. Maya Baddh Haite Jeev. Maya Mukta Haite Shiv. It says that when I am entangled in Maya, these kind of practitioners they say that when I am entangled in Maya, then I am Jiva. I am very tiny, I am very small, and I am completely entangled and I am suffering. But when I will practice and I will get out of this Maya, then I will become Shiva. Now, previously, when I was Jiva, the same Parvati, the Parvati I was treating as my mother because Shivji is my worshipable. So his wife Parvati is my like my mother. Now the same personalities, these practitioners, they say that when I will become Shiva, when I will get out of Maya, I'll become Shiva, and now they will start treating that same mother as wife. Previously, that mother, that Parvati was considered as a mother. And now I'll become Shiva, and now that Parvati whom I was worshipping as mother, now I will consider her as my wife. So this is so much offensive. This is so offensive and painful to Lord. Guru Vargas say that it's like the parents, the child is so bad that what he is doing, the child is binding the hands and legs of the parents, putting them in the corner of the room, and in front of them, with their eyes open, he is hanging himself to the ceiling. He is hanging himself and dying out of hanging to the fan with the rope. So, how painful it is for the parents to see from their own eyes, and they are bounded, they cannot do anything. The parents are seeing their own child suiciding in front of them. So painful. And that kind of pain Shivji and Parvati experiences when they see this kind of thing, this kind of practitioners. So it's very important to understand these fundamental principles, that what is the relationship between Bhagwan, Jiva, and Maya. That how because of my own choices I am the part and parcel of Krishna and I am supposed to serve him. That's my real nature. That's my true identity. That's my eternal nature. That's my eternal dharma. But because it is arised naturally, because how it arises, that dharma arises, it arises only because I am the child of that personality, that supreme Lord. So whatever his nature is, Sachidananda, so that nature comes in me, that comes naturally inside me. So I am the soul emanating from the supreme Lord. So my nature is Sachidanand, my nature is to serve who is my source. But that get distorted because of my own wrong choices, that I don't want to serve. I am that spoiled child who wants to enjoy independently. And because of that, what happens? Then Maya comes into picture. Krishna has assigned his potency Maya this particular task of being the jailer of this jail of material world. There is one jail that we see in our uh, this earth, in our areas. We have a jail in which all the criminals are put. Now the jailer also go in the same jail, but the jailer is not a criminal. Jailer is the one who is managing the whole jail, and punishing these criminals. So in the same way, we also did a crime, and this jail, it is not having all those bars, but we are still in that entanglement. That is also a jail. The repeated birth and death, the cycle of it, and because of which this jail, the task is assigned to the jailer Maya Devi to give us required punishment so that we come out of this nisarga state. Nisarga state, we heard. What is nisarga state? Distorted state. Distorted state. What is our distorted state? Being forgetful that I am the servant of Krishna, being forgetful of my real nature because of my own wrong choices, plus all these external circumstances and this external world created by Maya Devi, like a jail for me. So, coming out of it, what is required? What is required? Again, this fundamental principle that we discussed. To come out of this jail, the most fundamental thing required is to understand the mutual relationship between Bhagavan, Jiva, and Krishna. Bhagavan, Jiva, and Maya. Sorry. Once I understand that mutual connection between these three, then I will be able to recall my real nature. I will be able to recall that this is not my state. Like ice is not the real state of water. Gas is not the real state of water. The liquidity, it's loosed. It loses its liquidity in those states. In the same way, I am losing my eternal identity by being in this wrong state, being in the distorted state, in the nisarga state. So I am hearing this to understand that what is the relationship of Jiva with Bhagwan. And once that relationship is clear, then I will work on establishing and redeveloping those relationships so that what happen? So that I can go back to my real state, to my real nature. And I can stay happy all the time. I can stay in bliss all the time, which I am craving for in this world. I am craving for in the wrong direction. So that's why there is difference in existence, as we just saw, that Krishna is infinite, Jiva is infinite, Shiva. The existence is so different. But there is similarity in nature, there is similarity in quality. Krishna, he is completely independent, and because we are part and parcel, we are also independent, but not completely. We are bounded by our karmas. We are bounded by our so many different shortcomings. So we are independent very little. We have some choices, but not so big like Krishna's. So there is similarity in the nature that Jiva also is spiritual and Krishna also is completely spiritual. Now there is one important thing, that is differences in role. Srila Premdas Babaji Maharaj is explaining that Krishna, he is the attractor, and the Jivas, they are attracted. Like fire is attracted to sun. Why fire goes upwards? Everything goes downward, but fire goes upward, defying gravity. Why? Scriptures say that fire, the source of fire is sun. So it's always attracted to that. We see the rivers, they go towards oceans. Wherever the river is, it will want to go towards ocean. And that's what we see. Because oceans are the source of river. How from the ocean water gets evaporate, and then it the rainfall happens even on the top of the mountains, and there from those top of the mountain the water comes in the form of river and again meet to its source, that is ocean. So Krishna is the attractor, he is the source. And Jivas, because we are emanating from Krishna, Krishna is our source. So obviously, naturally, we will also be attracted to Krishna. So Jivas are attracted to Krishna. He is the supreme ruler, and the Jivas are ruled. Krishna is the personality who is maintaining. He is the real owner of this whole world. And we are just dancing as per his indications. So we are ruled. Krishna is the observer and the jivas are observed. This is so important. He is the one who is observing all our actions. He is the one who is observing what we are doing, what right we are doing, what wrong we are doing. Many times we think that, oh, I am just in a closed room, no one is watching me, so I can just do anything. But this is not the case. Krishna, he is that personality who is observing us. Even if not in a closed room, he is observing even in my heart, in my mind. If I am abusing someone, if I am criticizing someone, if within in my mind also, then maybe others are not able to see how harshly I am speaking. But Krishna is seeing in the heart that how much abusing and how much negatively he is treating others. He is thinking about others, all these bad things. So all those things are being observed. It's not that it goes in vain. It's not that nobody is observing us. So Krishna is the real observer and I am being observed. Then Krishna is the complete whole and the jivas are insignificant. If we just see that how when Krishna showed his Virat Roop, his universal form to Arjuna, then in that so many universes, they were like just in the hand of Krishna. So many universes, so many different cosmic manifestations were there. And in that manifestation, inside there, in a particular galaxy, in a particular uh, whole solar system, in that also on a particular Earth planet, inside that also in a particular country, inside that also in a particular state, in a particular city, inside a room, sitting a particular jiva like us. So, how insignificant we are in front of Krishna. How insignificant. So, there are so many such descriptions which tells about our insignificance and the supremacy of Krishna. So, finally, we have somewhat got the understanding of relationship between Jiva and Bhagavan. Now, the third fundamental principle, which is Maya Shakti, this is little more elaborate. So, we will be studying it nicely in the later chapters, which properly cover about the Shakti Tattva, about the concepts regarding the potency of the Lord, how the Lord has different kind of potency. Because Radharani also is one of the potency of Krishna. Lakshmi also is a potency of Krishna. And then the point we are talking about Maya. Maya also is a potency of Krishna. But all these potencies are not same. These potencies come on very different levels. So all that understanding of Shakti Tattva, which is the supreme personality, uh, supreme potency, how it is different from the lower potencies, how different potencies are assigned different tasks, different duties, and different roles in terms of creation, in terms of knowledge, and in terms of bliss. That is Sat, Chit, Anand. So, all these things regarding potency of the Lord, we will be studying in the later classes. But in this particular one, we had to discuss about Nitya and Naimitika. Nitya means eternal, Naimitika means occasional. So the state we are in right now, it's occasional, but it doesn't look like occasional because we are suffering from like millions and trillions, uncountable birth. So what happens, for example, if the water is turned into ice and it stays in that same particular refrigerator, or I would say in the same particular state of very like 0 minus 20 degrees Celsius for 100 years. So if a person, he just see that the the water is turned into ice and it stays into ice for 100 years, it seems like that the nature has been changed. It seems like this is the permanent nature now of water to be solid. It is the permanent nature of water as an ice. It stays like an ice. This is its permanent nature. It looks like that because seeing for so long. So, in the same way, because I am being entangled in this world for so long, for so many infinite birth, so it seems that this is my eternal nature. And that's why what people are doing, they are convinced that yes, this is my eternal nature, this is life. You come in life, you take birth, should enjoy nicely. You are getting life once, should live it fully. Why these people are having this kind of mentality? The root, the origin of this kind of mentality, that we should just live this life happily, enjoying nicely, do whatever you want. The source is this only, that they are considering that once that water has turned into ice and it stayed as an ice for hundreds of years, so it seems that the nature of water is solid only. The nature of water is being an ice only. So, in the same way, we also, jivas, we start thinking that this is the world, this is the place where we belong. So, just live the life nicely, enjoy as much as you can, and just die. That's it. Who has seen after death? No one. So, this is our nature. This distorted nature is our real nature. They start thinking like this. But this is not the case. This is not our Nitya Dharma. Even though the Naimitika Dharma is being there for so long, but still it is not eternal. It is still occasional. Even if it will be there for like next 100 crore, 100 million trillion birth, but still it will stay occasional only. It will not be eternal. Why? Because the soul's composition is not of that. The soul's composition is Sat Chit Anand, and that composition will never change. That composition will never change. As soon as the water will get its natural temperature, it will turn into liquid. It will not stay into solid anymore. So, in the same way, as soon as we get into our natural state of being the servant of the Lord, of performing this spirituality, devotion to the Lord in a proper way, then slowly, slowly, what will happen? We will reach our eternal Swarupa. We will reach our eternal state in which we will be doing a particular service very blissfully and continuously to the Lord. And there will be no boredom. There will be no boredom like we get in this world. So, this is the final, I think, yeah. So the chapter 1 of our Jaiva Dharma is finished now. Hmm. So we discussed, I'll share these slides also, so you can get to understand the complete flow of how we went through all the different topics. And if there is any doubt, then please feel free to contact on WhatsApp, or in the group also you can message. So with this, we will conclude. The time also is running. वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. Hare Krishna. Danvat pranams to all.